Did you hear about Longview? They voted 2-1 to leave the
For a long time, it's fine. Kind of like we're the stepchild.
Yeah, I get that.
But they kind of almost kind of like,
Yeah, it's
good
long.
stuff for them. Yeah,
So there'll be some interesting discussion at the meeting.
correct. Almost, so I don't even know where that place is. Is it I don't even recognize the name of the school.
Is it in Tacoma or Seattle? I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to go into the small boards.
I can go around. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, I know we Fisher, talked to other Fisher, about private possessions and things like that.
I always try to go to one of them.
I prefer to be back there.
They always have to see it.
Well, it's been a while then.
Credits, options, boys and girls. And also seal the credit and also what's going on, and hear everybody else's problems.
But yeah, Longview should be.
Yeah, so
And then we're all still trying to figure out Vancouver.
Sure.
We're going forward with
701. 701.
Don't worry about it.
I'm still bringing chairs in, that's the problem. I don't think I've ever seen this full of a crowd before. No.
Party on wing.
How many more folks we have? I gotta grab my sheets here and then we'll start.
Oh, okay. Oh, you can just sit on the crisscross applesauce over there.
yeah, well, we got some couple years ago, we got this like, you guys bring a bowl in your board. We can't even water that deep enough to bring a bag.
We did a resolution on our bond. Yeah, they said, well, the commission can change. That's up to the voters. So the voters really want to hold over if somebody wants full. It's not on the agenda. Want us to get rid of all of our constituents?
Packet. Where's my packet?
All right, we're gonna, as we get started here, I know we're still bringing some chairs out, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're like to start our meetings on time, so as you folks file in, snuggle up, and we'll get you a chair if we can find one for you. All right, it is 7:02. It is Monday, November 6, 2017, regular meeting for the City of Woodland Council. If I can get everyone to make sure that your cell phones are silent, remove your hats and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mrs. Anderson, are you ready?
I am.
All right, you go ahead and take the roll, please.
Councilmember Heffernan.
Present.
Councilmember Hall.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Hubbard.
Here.
Councilmember Frederick.
Here.
Councilmember Jacobs.
Here. All right, everyone is here. We'll start this evening with items not on the agenda. Before we get started, since there are so many people here and signed up, I'm going to read some quick rules so we're all on the same page. Get to the page here real quick. Where are they? They were just right here. Used to be a little sheet right in there. Oh, there they are. All right, when asked to step up to the podium, your name will be called, and when you get up there, if you could please state your name and address and what you'll be speaking about, so council is aware of the topic of conversation. If you have a handout, please make sure a clerk, Mrs. Anderson, is right up here in the corner, gets a copy of that so we can enter it into the record. Comments should be made to the council as a whole. Do not expect anyone to, if you ask a question, to receive an answer back. There should be no engagement between council and the speaker, only myself and the speaker. Normally, time for each person to comment is limited to 5 minutes. Due to the number of folks speaking this evening, I'd like to limit it to 2 minutes, if possible.
You were given 5 minutes.
Okay, well, if we go 5 minutes, we're not going to get to our business by 10 p.m. So maybe if there's a group speaker, or we can take a few of you that can be designated as the group speaker and have them step forward, and then we can give them 5 minutes. But if we give everyone 5 minutes, we won't get through our other business. Again, please don't expect a response if you ask a question during the meeting. We encourage citizens to arrive early and stay afterwards to speak with council members to ask further questions and have some one-on-one time. You can find email addresses for myself and all council members at our website. And if you do not have access to internet, we can get those to you so you can make your comments that way if you're unable to step up and speak this evening. All right. We'll start this evening for items not on the agenda. First on the agenda here, our sign-up is Rob, is it Nikolai?
Yeah.
If I can get you to step forward, please.
Yeah, Rob Nicolay. I live at 2041 Spruce. I've lived there for 30 years this past April. And my wife and I are both retired, spent a lot of room in our family, or a lot of time in our family room. And lo and behold, recently my neighbor put up a garage there that's got 14-foot sides on it. I understand this is the code, it's legal, but it totally blocks a view that we've had for 30 years. And the reason I'm here is I've been told that there's nothing I can do. But I could do the same thing but worse to the lady who lives behind me. If I had the proper offset there of 84 inches, according to the builders, I could put up a garage or shed or whatever you want to call it, 20 feet high. That would totally block all of her windows in the back of her house. Now, while it might be legal, this is wrong. And I would like to invite each and every one of you to come to my house this week and see the situation and what I could do to my neighbor. It's just, this isn't right. So if this is the rules, the code, it needs to be seriously looked at. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Repeat his address.
Yeah. I think I've got it here. Where's the sheet? Oh, I wrote it on the back, that's why. It's going to be 2041 Spruce.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Next, I have Marcy O'Flanagan.
Hi, I'm Marcy O'Flanagan. I live at 2105 Dahlia Street, and I'm the lady that Rob talked about, that if he built in his backyard, he would totally block. I think I need to say we're a neighborhood of one-story houses, and this shop it's out of place. It's too big for our neighborhood. From my kitchen window, I have a view of the southeast, see the trees in the neighborhood, and across the river, the hills. So imagine my surprise when I came home one afternoon and a quarter of my view was gone. And then I thought, it's his property. he can do what he wants. And then I walked over, and the roof wasn't even on it yet. It's just, and I know it's the code. And I think that it needs to be looked at. If we were two-story houses, it would be no problem, except for Rob, because it's, 12 feet away from his windows. And the other thing, how come we weren't notified? I mean, I've lived in other neighborhoods where you get notified by the city or the county if something that is going to be erected that affects you. And it should have been very clear, whoever went out to check that shed or shop, he calls it a shop, that it was totally going to affect Rob and his wife. And not that he could do anything about it. I don't know. I think people should be notified of projects that negatively affect them. I wouldn't expect anybody to say, oh, it's going to block Marcy's view, we should go tell her. That is asking a little too much. But I don't know, the whole thing just doesn't seem very neighborly. And I know Rob would never do that to me. So that.
Gail Singleton? You're here on behalf of the Woodland Action, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
This is my hometown, but I don't live here, so I don't know if you saw my address, but...
Nope. He's leaning up against the road there. Yes, we still would like your address, please.
Okay, it's 11300 Northeast Sylvan Terrace in Vancouver.
What was the name again? Sorry.
Northeast Sylvan Terrace.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'm here as a board member for Woodland Action Center, and I am asking to reconsider the use for Horseshoe Lake Park, the kitchen, for the Clover Valley Church to be able to feed people in the park one Sunday a month. Woodland Action is short on hours, money, and volunteers, and we do the best we can to help our clients in the community, but we can't do it alone. I feel that the memo that ended up on Facebook, unfortunately, was unprofessional and uneducated to say that only transients are in need of food in our community, and that it was up to Woodland Action Center to take care of it. Many of our clients are barely keeping a roof over their heads and are often hungry. So please allow Clover Valley to outreach to everyone in our community that needs a hot meal.
Thank you very much. And I believe you're speaking to the item that's on the agenda this evening.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure that council's clear that it's on the agenda this evening. Not a big deal. All right. Miss Jennifer Keene.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Keene. I'm representing the Port of Woodland, P.O. Box 87, Woodland, Washington. Speaking on behalf of water rates, we have been notified by multiple tenants concerned about water rates in this last water bill. Many of our tenants experienced double bills, or their bills had doubled without real explanation, and to the point that we're talking about a normal water bill being $500 and they just got over $1,000 bill. And this is concerning to our tenants, who are, trying to, live within their means, within their budget. And we got a lot of questions, and so we had referred them to the city and to ask questions about it. And we do get copies of their water bills because it's our properties. And the answers from the clerk's office of what our tenants told us was, well, you must be using a lot more water. Actually, water usage is down from our tenants. We had just gone through a lot of energy efficiency and water upgrades and such. And to give you an example, Pacific Seafood, who stores boxes in one of our buildings, has no staff there, has no bathroom. The water bill was over $100. We're perplexed ourselves. Even in our own office, our water bill was over $1,000, and that's 2 people in a little port office in downtown, and our landlord was looking for water leaks. Everybody seems to be questioning what's going on, but we're seeing less usage. So it was one of the things that we were concerned. We didn't want to overstep our bounds with the city, but the conversations that our tenants are having with your staff was erroneous information, and that upset them. And so they're wondering, why did the rates go up? And we have no answer for them, to the point that some of our tenants are now rethinking their leases, because this is the difference of them keeping afloat, if you take this over a year, and keeping an employee. And most of our tenants are very small, and, they have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 employees. And it's a big difference when they have to let somebody go to pay their water rates. So we're just looking for answers. The answers we did receive were not satisfactory to our tenants. So, and we know that other tenants or other businesses on Sherman Way have also expressed some concerns. They've been asking us if we've been experiencing the same thing. So if we could get some follow-up just to let our tenants know what's going on, that would be really great.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. Thank you, Ms. King. Megan Evans.
Hi, my name is Megan. I lived in Woodland for about a few months. I moved here in August, and I live on 270 Fir Avenue. One of my concerns is when I started moving into our house, I noticed that there was a really bad smell from our water, and it really concerns me. I've had multiple discussions with Mike and Teresa about, what's going on. I honestly haven't really had any satisfactory answers from them. Supposedly there's supposed to be a water main flush going on at some point, but I haven't heard any follow-up from that. The taste of the water, it's not good. I mean, the smell of the water, well, that's even worse. It's coming from my toilet. When I'm upstairs in my bathroom, it's just, I can't even drink the water because it's so bad. I mean, sure, I do have filters on some of our, like kitchen sink and that sort of thing, but, that only does so much. I can't put a filter on it on every single faucet, and like a filtration system, it's too expensive. I don't have the money for that, and most people don't have the money for that. Considering what she was saying about how expensive the water is, for these tenants, I mean, why are we subject to that kind of quality of water? To me, that is not quality water. There's other people that I've discussed about this within the community. Supposedly it's been a problem for a really long time, and I find that to be, well, kind of disheartening, to be honest. Suppose there's been one person that's already complained to this city. Mike told me that supposedly I'm the only one who's complained about it, which I've found to be untrue. There's other people that have had the same issue with the smell. So, I guess my question is, why isn't anything being done, and do people just think it's okay to have water like that? I guess is my question, because I don't think it's okay.
Okay. Taking some notes, we'll follow back up with you after I've been out of town since Wednesday, and I know that we've been working on this issue and with Mike and with Tracy, so I'll follow up with them and we'll get an answer back to you, especially about the water line flush as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all that I have listed that signed in for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone else that failed to sign in on the way in, or if I grabbed it? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and step forward and state your name and address.
Hi, Hi, I'm Kim Blaufus. I live at 575 CC Street. I have a concern, the sewer main's broken there, and it's leaking sewer into the street. And this was found on Friday. And they said that they're just going to let it sit there. They put up caution tape. They didn't notify anybody in the neighborhood. They didn't put any notes on anybody's doors. Every house around this leak has kids, and kids love jumping in puddles in the rain. You know, if we look at what's happening in California right now, they have a huge hepatitis A outbreak because of raw sewage in the street. So, you know, I'm disappointed in the response. I'm disappointed that, you know, there's an after-hour emergency line that you can call, but nothing gets done. This is a public safety and health crisis, and it has a potential to cause a lot more issues than just raw sewer in the street. So I'd like to see something. I guess I'm really kind of, I think it's unfortunate how many issues that we're still hearing about our public water here. So if you guys could put a lot of focus on that, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. And I have to ask you to spell your last name for me, please.
Blaufus.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else? Oh, go ahead, sir. State your name, please.
First name Frank, last name Bredin, 575 CC Street as well. It's just a follow-up to the sewage main that broke. That's previous to December, was last year. We've been here roughly a little over about 6 years, but last year, heavy rains, agreed, but yet our basement was the first time it ever flooded. Normally we'll get a pool across the other side. So I don't know how long this main has been leaking, but it's kind of coincidental that we got sewage burbling up through the asphalt, and just previous, like 6-7 months, our basement was flooding. So, yeah, if we could expedite some sort of research in this one, making sure that this isn't too serious and that, because one of the civil engineers that live next to us may think that there's possibly a cavity that's underneath and that we don't need one of the cave-ins in the middle of the street with the kids out there playing. So I just wanted to back up what she had to say as witnessing it as well.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the gallery for items not on the agenda? All right, moving for items on the agenda, I have Rodney, is it Sagan?
Yes.
Okay, I can get you to step forward, please, sir.
Hi, my name is Rodney Sagan. I live at 369 Gun Club Road, Unit 82 in beautiful Woodland. I'm here to talk about the possibility of establishing rent controls in Woodland and the state of Washington. As you all know, there was a law enacted, I think it was around 92 or 91, that prevents this in the state of Washington. There may have been a reason for this at that time. However, it is being abused grossly now by many people in real estate, entrepreneurs, whatever. We have very specific instances of this occurring in Woodland at Woodland East Mobile Home Park, where I've lived for a few years. What's happening is these gentlemen that are in this business of owning large mobile home parks, of which ours was just recently purchased, own quite a few pieces of property of this nature. And their term is, that they used in their initial announcement to us, was that there would be rent increases as the market warrants. Well, that's fine and dandy. There's just one problem. The individual that I'm talking about lives in Vancouver. He owns about 15 properties between Oregon and Vancouver, and 2 in Woodland. And he is setting up the market values by increasing the rents in all of these places completely disproportionate to COLA, to his purchase price of the properties. And this has been going on for quite some time from California, from another individual named Brian Fidier, who is a over $500 million real estate person, doing the exact same thing. I am talking primarily in terms of mobile home parks, because that's what this came about initially. Mobile home parks in the business of realty and business are considered cash cows. The easiest loan you can get in business is for a mobile home park, because there's very little maintenance cost in running it and operating it, and there's a guaranteed cash flow and income. Those of us that are living in mobile home parks, mostly by choice, have already served our country, and we've already been productive citizens, and we are on fixed incomes, and we are just looking for a little peace in life. Most recently, my mobile home park had a 50% increase in the rent in one jump. The man that bought the mobile home park bought it for 100% over the assessed value. He could not afford it, so he got a giant mortgage. Now we are paying for that. I suppose I should be grateful that we only have a 50% increase in rent. However, I think that the time has come to initiate some action to start looking at rent controls in the state. I come from Riverside, California. In that county, they have them for mobile home parks in particular, and they work. The usual argument from the opposition is that it causes more housing shortages. It does not. It works in other communities, and I think that it's time for us to have it.
All right.
That is all.
Thank you, sir. Laverna Ruckman. I allowed Mr. Sagan 3 minutes, so I'll allow you the 3 minutes as well.
Thank you, sir. I will read mine so that I can get it done in that time.
Okay. Please state your name first and your
My
address.
name is Laverna, Laverna Ruckman. I live at 369 Gun Club Road, Woodland East, Unit 47.
Okay.
Please visualize with me the following scenario. Your feisty and friendly and still in good shape, cute little white-haired granny in her 80s lives at the 55 and older gated Woodland East manufactured home park. She feels safe living there, has a circle of friends who call her each day to see if she's okay. They have daily activities to participate in, and you often see your hotshot granny racing around the park on her fancy three-wheeled bike, or adult trike as we call them. I just got one myself, and I absolutely love it. In fact, I rode 45 minutes this morning before I went to the community exercise program at class at the Presbyterian Church. But I digress. When your granny and wonderful grandpa retired several years ago, they had plenty of money in the bank and were okay financially. Unfortunately, Grandpa became gravely ill, and as he dwindled away to nothing, so did their savings account, because they had to pay for their medical care that insurance didn't take care of. And sadly, he passed away. Now your granny is left to survive on her $1,100 a month Social Security retirement benefit. Her home is paid for, but her rent space is $443 a month. As Rodney said, in July of this year, the park was sold, and the new owners had the audacity to raise the space rent to $685, a 50% increase. Poor Granny. Now she just has a bit more than $400 a month to pay for utilities, food, her cell phone, cable TV, medical insurance, annual property taxes, gas and car upkeep, and annual licenses for her car. Talk about having to pinch pennies. Granny is really in a financial bind. Since there is no rental cap on her space rent, what's going to happen to your precious Granny when the rent space increases up to $1,000 a month, which is highly possible at this point? She is then left with only $100 extra a month, and because everything available for rent in Woodland is also at least $1,000 a month, Granny finds herself living in her car or in a homeless camp where she's scared to death 24/7. This is no laughing matter. It could easily happen. There are 130 homes at Woodland East, many of them with 2 occupants, and that accounts for a lot of votes for you, by the way. By increasing the space rent to $685 a month, the new owners should be able to pave our streets in gold. Since we are all senior citizens and only one step away from heaven, maybe that would give us a little taste of what living in heaven will be like. I firmly believe that it should be a law that no money-hungry landlord should be able to increase the monthly rent any more than the incremental increases in Social Security benefits for anyone over 65. This is in the state of Washington. Better yet, there should be a cap on rent increases so senior citizens will be able to stay in their own homes without the stress of worrying daily about when they will become homeless. City council members, I beg you not to be so concerned about getting a salary increase yourself, but instead to put your big girl panties on and your big boy shorts on and have the guts to do something about this elder abuse you and other politicians are allowing to happen to senior citizens because of these unacceptable and out-of-control rent increases. Finally, a sincere reminder, let your conscience be your guide and take care of all those white-haired grannies who voted you into office, or they might run over you with their 3-wheeled trike.
I've got Jerry and Elaine Weedman, who will be stepping forward and speaking this evening. No? Okay. Thank you. Jan Hager. Stager? Am I getting this wrong? Stagner. Gotcha.
My name is Jan Stagner, and I live at 369 Gun Club Road, number 130. I'm a homeowner and a resident at Woodland East Manufactured Home Park. Woodland East, as you know, is a gated manufactured home community of 130 homes where we own our homes, but we rent the lot the home sits on, and it's for people that are over the age of 55. Our park sold in July, and the new owners immediately notified us that they're raising our park lot rent 54%. In my case, my lot rent is going from $458 a month to $685 a month. As senior citizens, we've all been productive members of society. We've all worked our entire lives and look forward to retirement. We're all on fixed incomes. Many of our residents will be unable to absorb this astronomical raise and are being forced to sell their homes below market value because of this situation. I understand the property owners need to make a profit and keep up with expenses. However, this is beyond making a profit, covering the cost of a mortgage, taxes, and insurance. This is pure and simple greed. The new owners purchased the property for $8 million. A 30-year mortgage payment on $8 million at 3.92% is $37,825 per month. Adding in water, sewer, garbage, plus taxes, insurance, and administrative costs at approximately $15,000 a month comes to $53,000 a month. Dividing that cost by 130 homeowners, the total comes to approximately $400 a month. Therefore, the additional $285 per month the owners are collecting from each of us totals a whopping $450,000 a year. That's $500,000 a year. Again, pure greed. A 2012 study indicates that a $100 rent increase contributes to between a 6% and 32% increase in homelessness. Nearly 22,000 homeless people were counted in Washington during January's 2017 annual tally. 31% of all homeless are over the age of 50. Advocates for the homeless and officials working to end homelessness all point to rising rents and the lack of affordable or permanent housing options as underlying causes. Right now, we're in a catch-22 situation. I've contacted the state senators and the representatives, and they tell us that this needs to start at the community level. The community leaders, some of you, inform us that it's a state law that a rental cap cannot be put into effect. Someone needs to take the first step. Step up to the plate. Someone needs to stick up for these people. All of these people are your constituents. I understand the rental property owners will fight this, but there are more renters, more voters, and possibly less homeless that will benefit from this than property owners that won't. I urge you to consider putting a rental cap percentage into effect in Woodland immediately. Again, we expect property owners to make a profit, but not so much that it's risking adding more senior citizens and families to the number of homeless in the state of Washington or in our beautiful community of Woodland. I thank you for your time and allowing me and the others to voice our opinion on this issue. And once again, I urge you to use your influence to help this dire situation.
Tom and Sandy, is it Springett?
Oh, I thought that was the sign-in sheet.
Oh, that's me? Are you passing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What about Donna and Glenn? Okay. Dick and Sandy? Okay, thank you. And I just want the record to reflect that Tom and Sandy, Donna and Glenn, Dick and Sandy, and then also Jerry and Elaine were all here for the same topic of Woodland East. Is that correct? Okay. Making sure that you folks are accounted for on that topic. Is there anyone else that is here that failed to sign in for items on the agenda? Now's your chance. No, to get up and speak this evening. It's, okay. That's okay. That's all right. Could I get a show of hands for council of how many are here for the Woodland East? Keep your hands up for a moment here. I'll say roughly about 30. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down. Obviously, this is a big problem, and I think that we can speak to Mr. Ealing. Can you speak to this evening for these folks while we're here? All right, Mr. Ealing, go ahead.
Well, one of the things, it's always difficult is how the city tries to mediate problems that are statewide effect. And unfortunately, the answer to this is that you have to take action at the state level. There's a statute that was adopted in 1980 by the state legislature which preempted the field of rent control. By preemption, that means that the cities, counties, are not allowed to enact any sort of ordinance or rule on rent control. So it would be illegal for the city to, help you out in this and try to adopt any ordinance. We would fail at it. We would lose. So to focus on this, you need to change the law at the state level and either have a rent control there or whatever. There's been a couple cases on this. One that was against the Port of Seattle. It primarily dealt with houseboats and allowed rent control in that circumstance. The Supreme Court actually had upheld the ability of the city of Seattle's ordinance that had rent control for those, but after that case was decided, it was the state legislature that put in the prohibition on rent control. There was later analysis of it done in 1992 by Washington State Attorney General, who an opinion upheld and said that yes, the cities, counties are prohibited from entering or adopting any ordinance or law or rule for rent control. So that's the state. So if you ask me to draft an ordinance for rent control, I would tell you that it would be an illegal act on the part of the city that would be unenforceable.
Mr. Fredericks.
Would it be entirely appropriate to pass a resolution requesting that the state legislature look at this issue?
That would be fine, yes.
Okay, so there is something that, I really don't like the whole idea of the state legislature saying, oh, it has to start at the local level. And we can't do anything at the local level, which is a nice way of them saying, you're pawning us off to back to where nothing can happen. And because we can't do anything, but there's nothing that prevents us from saying, we as the body of the city council, we're requesting that you look at this because it impacts the vulnerable in our community. So there's nothing that prevents us from doing that. Is that accurate?
No, nothing that prevents you from doing that, no. And it's unfortunate that the information was given to the homeowners was incorrect. Because to me, it's fairly obvious, just reading the statute, that, it's a state issue. Because between us talking about fireworks in the past, gambling, marijuana, gun control, all of them deal with state preemption. And this is another one of those where the statute is explicit and says the state preempts the field in rent control. And that means we cannot do anything, even under Article 11, Section 11 of the state constitution. It's, be against the general laws of the state. So that's where we're at.
And what would be the process to have a member of staff create a resolution?
Just get direction from you, the mayor,
Okay.
and do that.
All right, consider it done. All right. I'll also be calling Mr. Orcutt and a few others on my list. I have some ideas, so not that I can promise anything, but Mrs. Heffernan, yes.
The RCW that deals with the prohibition of rent control does say that cities have the ability to enter into agreements with private owners, one-on-one. So can you talk about what that looks like, and if that's something that the city could try?
Well, I suppose the city could try doing that, but, you look at it as that negotiation involves kind of willing participants, and the city has no authority to compel. And I don't know if I put my, I don't necessarily want to put myself in this fellow's shoes, but if I were talking for him, I'd say, well, what are you going to give me? City, if we're having a negotiation, what am I going to get out of it? I'm just not going to agree to reduce the rent. I've got my return on investment that I expect, and so, what are you going to do? So I think negotiation, or who knows why the legislature put that in there? Because to me, in a practical sense, it really, especially on the issue of rent, maybe on other issues, where the city has some potential control, which I can't think of anything right off the top of my head that would fit. I just see it practically as having no effect. I can't see where we have any sort of leverage to compel someone to lower rents.
Are you aware of any situation in the state where that was used successfully?
I am not. I looked, and I have not seen anything where that's what
Are you aware that it was attempted to be used and just not successful, or just not even used at all?
I don't know either A or B in that question.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for Mr. Ely on the topic? All right, I'll have staff draft a resolution. I'll also be calling Senator Braun, Orcutt, and some others. I encourage everyone in the gallery that is here on this topic to start calling them as well. We can start there, and as Mr. Aileen said, I'm sorry that they passed you back down to us, but obviously it's kind of out of our hands. But what we can do is make some noise and try to get some attention to the topic. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I appreciate that. All right, moving on. What time is it? You guys want to take a quick break or keep going?
Can we recess until 7:45?
Sure, 7:45.
You're up.
All right. Everyone take your seats, sir. I don't know if I should turn this around or what are we doing here? All right. All right, and 7:54, we're going back into session. All right, we're going to move on to presentations here. We have Miss Tracy Coleman, if I can get you to step up here real quick. All right. No, do you go stand on this side right here. Watch your stuff there. Is this going to be okay, that's what I thought. All right. Oh, where's my stuff? I forgot my stuff. Stuff here. Let me get to my little. So I've got my little notes here. So Tracy here joined us a couple weeks ago. I would say, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now? The 9th of October, so more than, gosh, time goes by, especially when I'm not here. Good. Our new Public Works Director, after Mr. Karnofsky was here for a short period, so we're going to go ahead and sign her in this evening after I give a quick summary. Now, going through the process, we had some great candidates that came forward, but obviously you rose to the top, and we're appreciative that you're here. You've already done a wonderful job for us. Anything I've asked for, you've just been Johnny on the spot, so it's been wonderful, and I appreciate that. Not that Mike wasn't, but he did great too. But yeah, he wasn't here for the long haul. You're here for, yeah, that's right, you're here for the long haul. Yep. So Tracy comes to us with an executive MBA and BS in civil engineering, work experience in utility, private, corporate, municipal, and nonprofit sectors, worked in problem-solving industry for 21 years. Most of her experience is in management and capital projects, inclusive of buildings and utility, water, power, sewer, and infrastructure. So we appreciate you being here. Who's taking pictures tonight? Okay, good. I'm going to need you to sign. Well, I'll have you sign it when we're done here. What's that?
The lady with the camera.
Well, I didn't look up. I got to look up first. And we've got you a pen. I thought maybe you got two, so this is good. All right, I'll have you raise your right hand for me, please. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
I am.
All right, we're happy to have you. All right, I, Teresa Coleman,
I, Teresa Coleman,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Washington,
of the State of Washington,
and the laws of the City of Woodland,
and the laws of the City of Woodland,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office of City of Woodland Public Works Director.
the office of the City of Woodland Public Works Director.
There you go. According to law.
According to law.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
All right. Welcome aboard.
Thank
you very much. I appreciate it. All right. Let's look right up over here. Did you get one here? Here we go. All right. I'll have you sign this one.
Now give her the pretty bracelet that makes it so she can't go outside of the Woodland city limits.
All right. Thank you very much. We're happy to have you. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Good. Thank you very much. Oh, did you get one of these yet?
I better get one.
Oh, here you go. I even signed it with that one.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Ooh, nice.
Thank you very much. Make sure you give that a good read.
Will do. But I gave her a mug.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, it's got a one up. I gave her a pen with my name on it. Oh, look at that.
That's another one.
All right, moving on through the agenda here. Let's see, where's my... All right, before I ask for agenda approval, I would like to pull, if possible, action item F. I've spoke with the organizers, and we believe that we're going to go a different route. Although this may come back forward this evening, it doesn't appear that they want it discussed any further. We may have a better option for them, using the community center instead. So I just spoke with them. So the chair will accept a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda with the exception of action item F.
Second.
All right, move to approve by Councilmember Frederick, seconded by Councilmember Humberg. Will clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Jacobs?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Hubbard?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember McCall?
Aye, as long as we get an explanation at mayor's report.
All right.
Councilmember Carpenter?
Aye.
All right, agenda's been approved. Polling action item F. Moving on to a public hearing for ordinance number 1397, 2018 property tax levy of 101%, and it is 7:59. Public hearing. I have no one that's signed up, but if there's anyone in the audience or in the gallery that would like to step forward now to speak on the topic, now is your opportunity. All right, reports of City Council. Ms. Humberg.
Okay, well, I've attended a couple of meetings that I was
Okay.
going to report on. Friday, I attended the Cowlitz County Information Forum. We had a lively discussion on several topics, but transportation seemed to be the top of it. Our city administrator was there as well. It's a combination of cities, ports, school districts, our county officials. We even had a state official at this one, and it was a good sharing.
Good.
Lots of things were brought out and talked about, and I think we had a good conclusion. Yeah. I also attended the Woodland Quality Community Coalition. Again, it was a sharing kind of meeting, so we heard a little from the port, from the city, the Woodland School District, Cowlitz County, Cowlitz-Waukegan Council of Governments, and the Cowlitz Economic Development Council. And so it's interesting to see what everybody else is doing and hear what everybody else is doing. And that kind of helps us all to work together so that we're not two entities working for the same end, but not together. So that was also a very good meeting. Also attended the Pathways 2020. And we're working on several things, but the one that affects Woodland probably the most is the bike trail, the Six Rivers Bike Trail. So I will be sitting on that committee. Our next meeting is, I believe it's the 15th of this month, so I will be attending that and bringing back some more information about how that bike trail is going to look. It's going to start at, I think it's milepost 52 and end in Woodland. So you'll be able to ride the whole length of Cowlitz County. Along with that, there's walking trails for most of it, so if you're into biking, it's a really good thing. Horseshoe Lake Management Committee, we talked a little bit about the pump outlet. It has an issue, so we're looking for someone to tell us what it is. The state is going to replace the pump, and that will be done next year sometime. They couldn't give us an exact date. They did the DD2 to get rid of the milfoil, and so there is no milfoil. It doesn't look like it hurt the fish. Everybody's pretty happy about the end result, so that was a good thing. That's enough. I'll just some more, but that's enough.
Mr. Fredericks.
So the milfoil issue's been resolved, but I guess I can ask this question.
Yes.
The Brazilian Aladea was discovered while the milfoil treatment was being performed. My understanding is that can be just as bad as milfoil.
It's actually worse. However, we're waiting for some results back, and there's some grants. There's some money that we can get to help eradicate that as soon as we have and do you have that report yet?
Ms. Coleman?
Ms. Coleman?
No, I do not. I'm
Okay.
waiting for the report, but we are on top of the grant, starting to submit that grant application.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ms. McCall?
I guess I just have a question. The last I had heard of WQCC was in January of this year, and we were told that there were no longer any meetings for WQCC. I was cornered when I came for the meeting on Friday night to testify regarding council salaries and was chastised for not attending. And I have searched my email and I have no invitation, I have no information from Jennifer Keene at the port. I don't have anything from the city. I have no notification of any type of a meeting for any way to represent that, and I'm trying to be nice, but I'm a little bit bent because I was one of the founders of that group, and when there was discussion to disband it back in January, I had some lengthy emails that are here in public record, going back and forth that I did not want those to discontinue, and no one reached out to me to tell me that this was happening to be able to attend. So I guess I need to get in contact with Jennifer Keene if she was the lead on this, or whoever was the lead on this, because I am very disappointed.
Well, I don't know who was hosting.
The school district, as far as that's who spoke to me at
Okay.
Chamber, was Michael Green.
I was just verifying my email here. I didn't receive any notice either, so I guess we're all in the same boat then.
Okay,
Ms. McCall.
well, the only reason I guess I know is because I spoke with him at Chamber one day, and he said that was what was happening, and that was happening at the high school, so.
Well, and I can go back to Ms. McCall's comment too about no more meetings. I believe that I don't know if it was in January, I don't know the time frame, but the last meeting that I attended, I didn't find, my opinion, value in attending. It was my fourth time, and I felt like we were all siloed off doing our own projects. I didn't see the benefit of being there at that particular moment, and I believe my comment during the meeting was, and maybe in future we would rejoin, but again, I wasn't aware of that the meeting was even happening. So apparently they've rejoined, and due to my comments, perhaps we weren't invited. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I guess I was a little surprised when there wasn't other people there, so.
Well, now we know why. All right. Would you like some follow-up, or?
I think that I'm perfectly capable of doing
Okay.
that, and I will do so.
Just asking. All right, sounds good. All right.
I think, if I may, I missed a few of the meetings and then finally went to another one. I think I was at the last one.
You were.
It solidified my reason as to why I missed the two previous, because I felt like it was just siloed information. We weren't working as a group. It was this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, but that was about it. So, and I can get that by just reading the minutes of the school board and the report, so I can get the information. So, I just want to make sure, from my standpoint, on some of these meetings where we have representation from the city, that if policy decisions are being made, that these items need to come before council first, before a policy decision is made that would impact the city in any way. So
I'm going to just jump in real quick. I understand what you're saying. I don't know of any meeting that I attended that there was decision. Wasn't part of one. I know that meeting was going on before I took office. I don't know if there's a vote or anything that happens during those meetings.
No.
I've never been a part of one.
There was previously.
Okay.
We did, there is a matrix that exists where we created projects that were low-hanging fruit and that were of median cost and median effort, and then that were more of a long-range plan. And that, I believe, was forwarded to Mayor Lasicki, but I can still dig that up and forward it to you as well.
That would be
An example of a low-hanging fruit thing was Jim Bays, who's no longer on the school board, had wanted to spearhead like a movie night for the city, and that was a low-hanging fruit type of thing that somebody was going to take charge of. So there's multiple small projects that were on there and things that were community-based, and then the meetings started changing to where they were just a report of what was going on in each of the entities, and that was when things started to fragment a bit. Although I did still find it to be of use, because I would rather go to the meeting and speak to everyone than read it in the minutes of the port and the school district. So I was still finding them of use. But the last thing that I received stated, it was message from Mayor Finn, and the city of Woodland will not be hosting in 2017. Mayor feels this is a worthwhile group, but not one that should be spearheaded by the city at this time. He encourages you to continue meeting and inform the city when meetings will occur with an agenda. We would also like to receive minutes from meetings held. At this time, it is our intention to withdraw our participation. So it is extremely disappointing that there was a meeting with an agenda and that all of us were not informed that it was happening.
All right, thank you. Okay. Anything else for reports of council?
Mayor Finn, I just
Yes.
have a follow-up to that. Were
Yeah.
you made aware that, or was anybody from staff made aware that we were having a WQCC, that there was a WQCC meeting?
I did hear from Jennifer Keene and I attended.
Okay.
I assume the port was sending out invitations to folks. I probably, in retrospect, should have sent that message out to the rest of the council.
So there was a WQCC meeting. You attended, and there was no agenda.
Well, the agenda was everyone updated the group as to what's going on in their organization.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Which I'm going to make one more statement on the topic, which does not surprise me due to recent conversations Mrs. Keene and I have had, that she would reach out to you with that information. So, thank you.
One more thing? One more thing?
Yes.
Thursday, I know that you are also attending, and I'm attending Thursday morning, 7 a.m., Clark County Prayer Breakfast at the
yes.
Vancouver Hilton. I'm sure there are tickets still available for those that would want to attend. I find it an extremely positive event that I do try to attend every year.
It's great. I went last year. It was fun. I'm looking forward to it. I forgot. I just got back from out of town. I haven't checked my schedule this week, but I will be there, yes. All right. Anything else for reports of City Council? Okay. Moving on to reports of Standing Committee. Public Works. And Mr. Swindell is not here. Ms. Humbert.
So we had a Public Works meeting tonight. You're going to have to help me with this one. Most of what we went over was what we've gone over in the past, just everybody getting up to speed so that Tracy knew what was going on and kind of how our meetings ran. And there really wasn't anything.
Is this your first
new
one,
to
Tracy?
bring- Yes.
Okay.
And it wasn't, we didn't have any, I don't think we had anything new to bring forward tonight.
Only thing new we had to bring forward in Public Works was the sewer main, and that was about it. And
Yeah.
we have that under control, and it's currently under construction to be fixed starting tomorrow. So we hired a contractor today and got that on board. So it was, we were notified, do you want a little bit more detail?
Yes,
on
please.
that?
Yeah, if you could,
So-
please.
So on Friday night, we noticed some bubbling on the street, and upon investigation, we found that it appeared to be sewage. And so, kind of like a clamshell bubble, just minor, nothing big. It was raining, and so it's really hard to measure that. So we went ahead and walked off the road, and our staff went through and notified the neighborhood, and apparently some were unfortunately not in their homes, so we didn't get them notified. We did not hang any flyers, we just knocked door to door. And then we went ahead and taped it off. We, at that time, then began securing a contractor, and as everybody knows, as you secure a contractor for emergency services, you got to find the first available, so that takes a little bit of time. So we were able to secure a contractor today, being Monday morning, and they are out there gathering materials, and we're going to bypass the sewage system so we can open up the hole and repair the line. We don't really know what's down there. We know there's a little bubbling going on. We know that it's being contained, but at the same time, we don't want to open it up without bypassing it to create a ruptured situation. So anyway, that'll be taken care of. We hope to complete the repairs by this Friday.
Okay, perfect. And where?
So, and we also have notified all the residents again.
Okay.
We went around today and notified them, and we're building a certain access rail for their driveway so they can pull into the driveways and wouldn't have to park on the side of the road.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions for Ms. Coleman? on that topic? I know we had some folks speak this evening. I don't think I wish they were still here to get that. There was a lot of people here, so I should have asked you then, I'm sorry. Questions? All right, Mr. Fredericks, Finance and General Government.
Yes, we met October 30th. We discussed temporary stops, vacation policy for water, sewer, garbage. We are in the process, or should I say staff is in the process of drafting an ordinance and bringing it to the City Council for consideration. We have asked a few questions, and we're requesting that staff bring this back to the Finance Committee to discuss possible options. On the agenda tonight, you'll see a business license legislation that was passed in Gross House Bill 2005, which is, we had this program that was an optional, and this House bill basically said, well, now you need to opt out. So we have decided to opt out because it does increase rates for businesses who are attempting to get a license. It does increase revenue for the state, though. We have requested to be opted out of that, but I have a feeling that at some point we're going to have to opt in because we're not going to have any options.
I was going to ask, is there any repercussions to that of not?
Not yet.
Like no more grant funding or anything like that?
No, nothing like that, but at some point,
Mrs. Anderson.
We have opted out until 2019, and we will to participate in the year 2020.
so there you go. So 2020,
We'll be forced.
We'll be forced in.
Okay.
So,
Ms. McCall.
I'm still in, okay.
I have a question about this, if you're
Go
not.
ahead.
Are you done with this part of it, though?
I am. I'm ready to move on.
I have a question about this because I remember the presentation on this, and I'm remembering that part of the reason for doing this is that even though there is a cost, which is only $20 the first year and $11 for renewal, that this makes it so that it's one-stop online for the businesses, and they don't have to come into the office. And a lot of them, it costs them a lot more than $20 to get in their truck and drive down to the city hall. And it also, this is saying that then it places the workload of processing the applications and renewals, issuing and mailing the license, collecting the fees, and following up on missing payments and information lands with the state as well for that fee. And as we're always tight on clerical assistance, I'm just wondering, to me, this does not make sense to opt out of this service because we're able to transfer this direct to the source of who's providing the service. They track it, they collect it, and it takes a workload off of our staff. So was that piece of it considered that it was going to cost them $20?
I can't speak for the whole committee, but I will speak for myself. We have taken that into consideration in the past. I have a business in Woodland. I filled out the form. I did it 100% online. It was a very simple process. Staff put basically a license in an envelope and sent it to me. So I'm not sure how much staff time is spent on that. I think from my standpoint, we'd like to be able to give the businesses a notice that it will increase their rates. And I think that this was the ability for us to opt out so we could start to communicate with some of our businesses and some of our smaller businesses that this increase might be somewhat of an impact to them. We wanted to make sure that we were communicating with them prior to this happening. And I'm not sure how we're going to do that, what the best way to do that is, but no, we haven't.
My concern is that now it's sounding like since we were opting out right now, that now we can't opt back in until 2020.
Well,
So
nothing prevents the
that-
majority of this council from bringing forward an item for consideration. The committee was against it. And that's why I made this report. The committee, I believe, was against it. I believe it was
unanimous.
It was unanimous, yes. I don't have that here in my notes.
I don't believe that there is any option at all to opt back in until 2020. From what I'm reading on this email from the Department of Revenue, we just decided that now we're out for 2 more years.
Nothing-
Is that clear?
This is an annual. My understanding that this is annual, and you can opt in. Matter of fact, if a majority of the council wanted to make a motion or made a motion and had this come up for discussion this evening, we could opt ourselves right back in.
Can we, wasn't there a deadline to respond?
That was my understanding. Deadline was
I believe
October
it was
30th.
October 31st.
And it was the day after our meeting, so there wasn't time to bring it
Yes,
to
that's
council.
right. But nothing prevents us from opting in, I believe, in 2019. This has been something that's been an annual thing for us.
It says it's a 2-year thing. If Woodland is selected for that plan, you will receive notice in mid-2019, and it will be for the 2020-2021 years.
I think the state folks that are running this program, since they're partnering with us for a better business licensing experience, would be very happy to accept us at any time.
Okay, that was my understanding as well.
Okay, that's
Okay.
also my question.
Okay. Humane Society contract came back, which was doubling the rates. So that was, every city is going to receive a substantial increase in animal control. My understanding is that I believe the city of Kelso is pushing back. We offered similar to push back as a tremendous increase in 1 year, and I don't know if Mr. Boyce wants to add to that.
I did, at our informational meeting that Susan and I attended, I did have a chance to talk to Stephen Taylor, the city manager there. What they're attempting to do at this point is to make sure that all of the costs are, basically the cost accounting is done so that the cities and the county are only paying for items that go towards animal enforcement and the costs associated with that. So they're trying to separate between the Humane Society functions and the animal control functions. I also asked them some questions about had they considered private contractors to help enforce some of the animal control. They said they had considered that, but due to a number of logistical issues, they decided not to go out for bids. They're concerned with the time frame, first of all. Secondly, finding someone who has experience in animal control. They're worried about public perception if the animals aren't treated adequately. And so at this point, they're concentrating on the cost analysis. They're looking at a 1-year contract, from what he tells me, and take that year to reevaluate and see if there are any other options for 2019.
And who is conducting the cost analysis?
The city of Longview and the city of Kelso are, I'm not sure if the county is involved, but at least the city of Kelso and the city of Longview are working with the Humane Society to come up with that.
Okay. Do you know when this is going to be done by?
I don't have they're pushing to get it done quickly. But I don't have a fixed date.
Right. And we reached out to Clark County and they were non-responsive. Is
My
that accurate?
understanding is that Clark County doesn't do animal control. So
Okay.
we
They
have
do.
to find a way to get the animal.
There's only 4 agents for all the way from Woodland all the way to Washougal.
Oh.
So they can't provide
that's a
the
no.
exact same service that the Humane Society of California.
Okay. So it's a monopoly.
It is, there aren't
Okay.
A lot of options.
Got it. So that's to be determined and will be brought back to the Finance Committee for further discussion. The audit entrance was November 2nd, sometime in the afternoon from 1:30 to 4:30, and I don't know if I know Ms. Humbert attended.
And so did I.
And Mrs. Havernan. Would you like to tell us how exciting that was?
It was pretty standard. There's, just the things that they're going to look at and how it operates, and it's anything exciting.
Well, it was just pretty much an overview of what they're going to do, and the exciting part is when they're done.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, if there's no further questions, our next meeting is scheduled for November 13th at 5:30.
All right.
One more
Yes.
question of when will we receive some from an update on what we're going to do about the Humane Society then? Is that just going to be a part of our budget presentation, that we're going to have that huge number presented to us, or?
Right. Well, what I'm attempting to do is negotiating a contract with the Humane Society. I'm trying to keep communication open with Kelso and Longview in the interim, get back to the Finance Committee with the best possible scenario for the city of Woodland. At that point, we'll have to bring it back to council for council consideration, and you're absolutely right, it will have a budget impact also. Right now, in the budget, we only have 7,800. If the number holds, right now, it will go to 14,500.
Per month?
Year.
Oh, for a year.
So it's double what we're currently paying.
My concern is just, I used to work on the same floor as animal control, and it's, a lot of times people think it's just picking up the dogs and cats, but it's a lot more than that, because it's, people leave snakes behind in rentals, there's owls, hawks, injured animals, there's all kinds of different things that they have to deal with, so it's not just kitties and puppies, and some of it is rather dangerous.
Thank you, Mr. Fredericks. Moving on to public safety, Ms. McCall.
Okay, we met this evening. We had a relatively short agenda. The first thing on our agenda is that we had asked for a report back from Chief Kelly to have him poll the officers on any thoughts or concerns that officers would have if we were to move forward with retail marijuana outlets. Actually, I think we're only eligible for one in Woodland. We were told that there were not a whole lot of concerns that he heard. The black market issues would be elsewhere and not at the retail site, and so the retail sites themselves are not sites of criminal activity from what they have, from what we heard back from him. One of the things that we discussed with him would be to limit the hours of operation if we were to move forward with this. I know some of the other cities are open until 10 or 11 or even midnight, and he seemed to think that that was not a terrible idea. Somewhat like what, when the state had liquor stores running, that they closed at 7 or 8 p.m. We also discussed that if the council was going to move forward with something like this, that we would hope that there would be a conversation with the police prior to the business opening, and that we would have a two-way conversation going with them at all times. And that was about it, because we don't have any planning information, and that's what, this wasn't a planning meeting anyway, so we'll be waiting for further information regarding planning parameters at a work session. We had asked for an update on the fire station from Michael Jackson. He's unable to be here this evening. However, we were told that it looks like the completion has been pushed back to December. There were some delays regarding the amount of concrete that was needed underneath of the manufactured home. There are a couple of changes on the fire staff. There's a new battalion chief that's taking some of Michael Jackson's duties, and there's some changes in the PIO office as well. We received an update on the estimates for a Sally Port. Chief Kelly got that information back for us. The bid is relatively high. It's a lot higher than it would have been if we would have put it in when we built the building, but that was to be expected, unfortunately. Looks like it will be around $75,000. And for those who don't know what a Sally Port is, it's I don't think I was ever able to get an explanation of why it's called a Sally Port, but it's like an open carport that they can drive into when they're doing searches or when they're offloading and unloading people and it's raining and it's awful outside. And it's also for safety reasons as well, because then there's a containment there. He's looking into some cuts that could be made working with Public Works, coordinating with Public Works, that some things could be potentially cut back from that bid and that we could add those things on later and do a pared down facility that could be added to later. And so we'll be getting more information on that as the budget progresses. He also had some good news for us as far as our application process. We have at least 3 new lateral applications, which means those are ones, police officers that have already been trained and do not have to go through the academy. They would only require about 12 to 16 weeks of coaching instead of 6 to 9 months of training, and then another 6 months before they could be out on the road by themselves. They will be at an entry-level board, looks like on 29th.
Whatever that Wednesday was.
I think it's the 29th. There will be a discussion for those folks. And then we also have testing is going to be happening tomorrow for the sergeant promotion process. Chief Kelly also got us an estimate. We talked at our last meeting about how much it would cost to outfit reserve officers. It's approximately $7,500, and that's for a vest and gun and all of the equipment that they would need. And that was a first estimate, and it seems I'm impressed with Chief Kelly. He always tells us this is a first estimate. I haven't actually got my pencil sharpened yet. He always tries to get it a little bit lower than what the first cut is, which that's greatly appreciated, that extra work. But there is not an academy happening this year in Clark County, and there's not enough candidates in Cowlitz, so we're still working on whether there would be a capability to be able to train reserve officers. So then we also talked about...
Mr. Fredericks.
For this meeting that we're going to be having on retail marijuana, has there, will we be provided with further analysis on the expected revenue? The revenue that was first provided was very generous, and my understanding is that with one store, the city could expect to receive less than $10,000 on an annual basis. So I'd like there to be some further analysis that's provided to the council as a whole when we're having that discussion.
Okay.
I also, at what point are we going to have a discussion about what I'd like to have requested? There were a couple members of the council that said, oh yeah, we want to have this meeting, we want to have this workshop on this, and then as we were moving forward to vote, oh yeah, and this is what I wanted to include. Well, I've not had an opportunity, and I wonder if other members of the council will have an opportunity to request information to be brought forward at that workshop that we're having. I specifically would like just a couple things right off the top. I would like to explore a city-owned retail marijuana store, very similar to
Bonneville.
Thank you. And then I'd also like to understand what lawfully are we allowed to do for signage and design standards for anyone who would be wanting to do this, have a retail store here. What type of advertising would be allowed on the outside of the building, what that's going to look like. Years ago, we used to do the Joe Camel thing. we stopped doing that for good reasons, because we were promoting this to kids. So I want to make sure that we're careful on what's allowed, but I need to understand legally what is allowed and what is not allowed. What can we say? What can't we say? So I'd like to have some understanding on that. And then I'd also like to understand, how would you like us to provide additional information that council would like to see in preparation for this workshop that we're going to be having? Who should those emails be sent to? And what is the time frame on when we should have those in by?
It was my understanding that council would begin discussing retail marijuana within the city limits of Woodland after tomorrow. And I'd have to go back into the minutes, and I want to say the 14th rings a bell. Is that a Monday?
13th is a Monday, I
So maybe it was the 13th was when this was supposed to take place. So I would suggest that, that's 2 weeks out from now, so I would suggest that council start preparing. What? I think it was going to be the next regular council meeting is when it was going to be discussed.
That's the 20th.
Okay. I just know that it was discussed that after tomorrow. Okay. So I guess it's up to council. Next Monday is a budget meeting, so I don't think that that's an appropriate time to discuss it, and I would suggest whatever the 20 ever. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
I thought that you had stated that it was basically on hold indefinitely until we had a planner.
Oh, I may have said that. I say a lot of things. So if that's the case, I mean, it's council's discussion. So if we can wait until the planner comes, or we can start the workshop on the 23rd, whatever.
My assumption is that
your
if
meeting.
we're going to be requesting information.
We're going to need time to get it together.
It's gonna take staff some time to get it brought forward, and I don't think you're going to have, that by next Monday, or even 2 Mondays from now.
Well, I guess start compiling your lists, and I guess we can start putting the list together, and once the planner gets here, we can.
Do we have staff that can, is it appropriate right now to be asking staff to work on this? Is this a high priority for council? And do we have the staff available to be able to handle this?
The answer to that is yes and no. So our current planner that we're contracting with doesn't have Washington marijuana experience. So he won't be able to assist on that. Some of the legal questions we can get from Mr. Elam. But as far as the planning perspective, we don't have that yet.
I think that answers that question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess I would suggest to council to start making a list when you think, and then when we're ready to pull the trigger, we will say, we will take your list now.
Okay.
And then we can determine, judging by that list, how long it's going to take for us to gather up the information for you, and then create the workshop.
The question would just be, we had someone come back in asking about this that already had applied for a license. And so so there's two pieces to it. They had come back in, and then the other piece was that we were going to get a clear projected revenue number, because that could have some impact on services for the budget, or things that we wanted to put into the budget. And so that was why the timing was going to be in November for the presentation. But there are definitely some planning aspects of this that we would need questions answered on. So I'm not exactly sure how we go about getting those questions answered if we don't have staff to do that, so.
Okay. We can pull numbers. I mean, I think that staff can do that. At some point, we can pull numbers and show you the revenues of the cities or surrounding cities or the entire state. But beyond that, I don't think that we can provide anything else at this point. Mrs. Heffernan?
There are cities surrounding us that have retail marijuana. Is there a way to have their planners at least present information about things that may be similar in their city, questions that we have that they could answer? Is that an option at all?
If that's what council would like, I would advise not to, because they don't work here. They don't know our code and what the community is expecting or what council's expectations are. They work with an entirely different group of people. But if that's what council wants, then we can make the arrangement. Anything further?
So hearing nothing presumes then that this is going to be delayed until we have staff to be able to address this. Is that what I'm
I'm asking staff at this point to bring a clear vision of the numbers at this point as soon as possible, and other than that, everything else is on hold.
Got it.
If people want to send their questions, though, would they just send them then to Mr. Boyce, and he can compile them so they're ready for when staff is available?
I guess we can create a folder. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And just respond with, it's going to be time.
I just want to, I do not want to jump through hoops on this. I want to make sure that staff sends me an email with a deadline that this is when we want them by, and then I will comply with that deadline. I don't want this to go into a file somewhere and just sit.
Well, that file will be brought forward once council has determined, given the list of requests and the time frame has been created, then that file will be brought forward.
I just want to make sure that there's communication from staff to council saying this is the deadline.
Okay. Understood. All right, Ms. Humberg, Human Resources.
We had a short meeting tonight. We talked about the code for and budgeting salaries. It's been for salaries. We went over the code that we had talked about and redid it again, revised it, looked at some new numbers, a different way of presenting it. Mary was going to take it back and redo it, and hopefully it will be ready to bring to council at our meeting on the 13th to look at.
Okay. Seeing new questions? All right. AWC, so Association of Washington City Action Days in Olympia is January 24th and 25th. I know I've said this before, but if those that are already seated for 2018 want to go, please mark your calendars. We need to start making arrangements now. Those that may be elected or are here that will be elected again for 2018, please mark your calendars for that.
More the better.
More the better, which means that coming soon we will be having legislative priorities brought forward. I'll be bringing those forward since Al's not here. I guess we'll have to have the discussion on who's going to be making those appointments. I'm assuming it's going to be me at this point, unless someone on council is willing to make those while we're in Olympia. So, Association of Washington Cities has already brought forward their legislative priorities during their regional meeting that I attended down at the Heathman here a few weeks ago. I will be providing those to council when we have the discussion about Woodland's legislative priorities, so you can see what they are suggesting that we discuss. This is an off year a little bit, so I don't know that this is really the session to be going up there asking for dollars for projects like we did last year. I think this will be more of a meet and greet, and let's discuss, similar to the conversation we had this evening with some homeowners here, of what are we going to do about this. That will be a time for those discussions then. Halloween was last week. Had a great time passing out candy out at City Hall. My children were there. They were very happy with me. We took some pictures. It was great. It's nice seeing all the children out there. The weather held up. It was clear the first time in 10 years, so it was good, which I think contributed to the turnout. I have been out of town, so if you did send me an email, or I do have some voicemails waiting, I'm slowly getting to them. I think I'm down to 88 to go, so I'll get there. So I'm not ignoring you. I will get there. Election, AWC Elected Officials Essentials is December 2nd. I believe there will be a class in Battleground. Is that what this?
I think it's a Battleground.
Battleground. I want to say it's Battleground. I bring this forward for council members that want a refresher, and also for those that may be newly elected. Mark your calendars for December 2nd. I encourage everyone to attend that, especially the newly elected. Election day is tomorrow. And as of right now, as of Friday, only 22%, a little more than 22% of ballots have been turned in from the city of Woodland. So I am encouraging everyone who is a voter within the city limits of Woodland to please, please, please drop your ballot. We have a box and the public parking lot next to City Hall. Please drop your ballot. 22% is a very, very low number. So please vote and vote soon. I believe the cutoff is 8 p.m. Does that sound about right?
Yes, it is 8 p.m.
8 p.m., thank you.
And they'll put a lock on it.
Yes, they will. So, tell your friends, tell your neighbors.
Are there any ballot measures that are dependent upon a 40% turnout
That's a great question, I don't know.
for our city? I know there are for.
If 40%, is that what you said?
Something was.
Is it the pool?
60%. I think.
Oh, is it our ballot measures, do they need 40%?
60% of 40% turnout, though, I think is how
Okay.
those are. So definitely, we don't make 40%. Some things that even if they get a majority,
Will not pass.
will not move
Absolutely.
forward.
We do have 2 ballot measures on there, one for the police levy lid lift, and also the transportation benefit district with a 0.2% sales tax increase for our roads. So, please get out and vote. Mr. Boyce.
Okay, I'll run through a few items quick, and then I have something to hand out. So liquor licenses, Woodland Moose Lodge, Giuliano's Pizza, the Oak Tree Restaurant, Lucky 21 Casino. We already talked about the business license services. Councilmember Fredericks discussed that. We've included the third quarter reports for city councilors. I know we're running a little behind, so if you have questions, please let us know and we'll respond to those. 11/13, we have a budget workshop at 7 p.m. November 20th, the regular meeting. December 4th, regular meeting and adoption of the 2018 budget. And we discussed rent control earlier, so we'll jump into that again. And on November 11th, we have the Veterans Day ceremony at 2 p.m. at 100 Davidson Avenue.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Beginning at 9, from 9 to 1 at the VFW Post 1927, they will be serving brunch. Biscuits and gravy, eggs, sausage, fruit. It's $8 for adults, it's $5 for children, and veterans are free.
All right. And then also, I think it should be noted, I believe that the Oak Tree has changed ownership recently. So there's some new owners in town. I have yet to meet them, but I will get over there and introduce myself as soon as possible. I'm not sure, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Okay, and that's possible. It might have been an inner workings deal, but there's some new control over there at the Oak Tree of some sorts. So when I know more, I'll let you know. Mr. Boyce?
Okay. Mayor Finn had asked me to update City Council on some past accomplishments that have been taken care of since he's been in office, and also try to put a roadmap together of some tasks we need to complete going into the future. So I'm just going to run through, because I know we are short on time, just some of the main headings. And we will put this online so the public has the ability to see this. We'll get it up by tomorrow. Anyway, I'll just jump in. So the first category is lawsuits and settlements. We entered into a settlement regarding the wastewater treatment plant violations that were found by Labor and Industry. We lowered the $98,000 in fines down to $25,000, with the caveat that we have to make certain reports and take some certain actions. One of them is having an industrial hygienist review our safety procedures and provide training as needed. We also had to get some employees through the OSHA 30-hour training. Had to be a live training. We held that here in City Council chambers. We have 4 employees now trained. And we also need to report on our safety committee meetings to labor and industry for a certain period of time. So we're actively making sure we're on top of that. There was a settlement regarding a wrongful termination suit. We entered into a retirement agreement with the Woodland Police Officers Association and the city employee to settle a grievance and avoid binding arbitration. We worked with the insurance-appointed attorney to remove the city and the former mayor from the pending suit. However, that suit still continues with the former sergeant. So we're still continuing to process document requests and working with the insurance attorney until that is either settled or goes to trial. Safety, this is a major activity that the mayor wants all departments to pay attention to. We're actively managing, like I said, the labor and industry settlement agreement. We've updated city safety manual and we've made it available in electronic format. We've completed the city facility risk and hazard assessment and addressed the cited issues. We've contracted with the industrial hygienist, which I mentioned, and had the 4 employees complete OSHA training. We presented City Council with balanced preliminary budgets for 2017 and 18. Facilities, the fire station is nearing completion, as we talked about, should be this December. We've restored City Hall following the roof leak last winter with an ice dam that backed water into the building. It's quite a undertaking. The Salary Commission is meeting. We recruited and appointed commission members, and we're providing staff support. We just held a public hearing last Friday evening. Have not taken action yet. We'll be scheduling one more meeting. With regard to the city attorney, we've obtained proposals for city attorney's services. We're working on a franchise agreement with Cascade Natural Gas and telecommunications franchise transfer with Wave, which I believe is on this agenda. Personnel, I won't go through the entire list, but you can see the list of hires and those items where individuals were promoted. We're recruiting a new community development director right now. The city's made some adjustments in public works as far as superintendents of wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant. Have a new payroll clerk. We're recruiting officers, as you heard this evening, and looking to fill the vacant sergeant position. And also recruiting a full-time, a permit tech. In the 2018 preliminary budget, it's listed as full-time, but that's at the discretion of council. The union collective bargaining agreements, the mayor, upon taking office, signed agreements with both Teamsters units and the Woodland Police Officers Association. And we're currently negotiating the next year's Woodland Police Officer Association bargaining agreement. We also processed a couple of grievances with the police union. We implemented part-time employee benefit language in the 13th CPA. We processed memorandum of understanding with the 13sters regarding code enforcement officer position. We implemented flexible spending account and dependent care account for employees. We updated the personnel policy a number of times. Working with the Human Resource Committee right now, as Councilmember Humbert reported, regarding exempt salary grids and policy. The industrial area feasibility plan, we put together requests for proposals. We sent out some of those items to get a better ballpark figure of what the costs would be regarding this, so we'll be having a conversation about how we move on from this point. Ballot measures, as we discussed, the TBD and the levy lid lift. And we also worked with City Council and the Mosquito District to develop ballot measures for the Mosquito District. Sewer wastewater treatment plant, we regained a certification we lost regarding testing samples in the lab. That again was related to the labor and industry citations that were issued. We have the decommissioning of the storage lagoon. We're working on that right now. The Department of Ecology made that requirement after erosion was seen on site. We implemented a transition plan to temporarily bring the effluent from the wastewater treatment plant to other facilities during the interim period. Wastewater treatment plant staff changed procedures to further reduce water in the effluent, thereby lowering some of our transportation costs. We developed a plan and awarded contract to install dewatering device, the screw press at the wastewater treatment plant. That's expected to be completed this December and should pay for itself within 3 years, large project. We completed the sewer plan. We're waiting for Department of Ecology approval. We completed our MPDES plan, again waiting for Department of Ecology approval. The water fund, we developed a plan to upgrade the water treatment plant. That's included in the preliminary 2018 budget. Fire department, we entered into a long-term contract with Clark County Fire and Rescue. We also had the hazardous mitigation plan. Public Works, transportation plan was updated. WashDOT, we obtained a grant to study Exit 21. That money should be available in 2019. SR 503 Gorig intersection, we met with WashDOT, the Public Works Director and I met with WashDOT personnel last week to talk about the implementation of the changes at that intersection. They anticipate that work should start late spring. And we're also trying to see if we can get sidewalks out of them in that area also, but that's a work in progress. Okay, Scott Avenue reconnection. So our long-term, we've spent many hours meeting with WashDOT, and Mary's made many personal contacts also. The long-term goal remains the same, that we want that Scott Avenue reconnection project. There's a price tag of around $60 million on that. So we're going to have to lobby and do our best to obtain that funding. We have remaining funds in that grant of $800,000. And we're discussing with WashDOT how to use those funds to improve community development. We've created the Community Development Department. It used to be under Public Works. Code enforcement was moved to community development. Developed and adopted the city's comprehensive plan. We increased hours for the permit tech position. Obtained and implemented a curb grant for downtown revitalization. Updated the C1 Central Business District, developed and implemented the Shoreline Master Program, contracted out building official services, we're in the process of developing a new filing system and developing new procedures and impact fee deferral program, adopted Lilac Lane subdivision final plat, the Meriwether PURD Phase 1 final plat, Meriwether Hilltop Phase 1A final plat, Meriwether Phase 2 final plat extension, and Meriwether PURD Phase 2 final plat. Committees, boards, and commission, amending and creating 4-year terms and appointed members. So that's a mouthful, but that's where we've been. Future actions. We'd like to complete an organizational assessment. We'd like to do all departments. This task is going to take a hybrid of administrative staff and consultants. There are some areas where staff doesn't have the expertise for this, or there are time constraint issues. Under the organizational assessment, we plan on implementing the improvements based on the assessment, implement new procedures to promote efficiencies and professionalism in the communities and residential growth with checklists are being used for billing, payroll, document management. Conduct a department audit of roles and procedures, develop an economic development plan, implement new budget document as requested by City Council, develop 5-year financial projections, amendments when necessary, complete our utility rate study, which is in the 2018 preliminary budget, also included in the preliminary budget, complete the industrial area feasibility plan, continue to evaluate community growth. And we accomplish this by annually reviewing the comp plan, review community development department activity, and monitor transportation issues. Implement downtown revolving loan program for facade improvements. This is a program that's coming out of the CURB grant. We need to look at ways of funding that. There may be some CDBG funds that could help. Develop long-term facility plan. We have issues with some buildings, including City Hall, 100 Davidson Avenue. So we can, what we're not. Establish a plan for an improved website. The goal being to provide greater access to city records and information for the public. Has a twofold effect. We have a number of information requests. Hopefully, the more information we put on the website, the fewer requests we have. Review job descriptions, review document management program and future needs, analyze and review the Woodland Municipal Code for changes and updates as needed. So there's a number of items there, and we'll be engaging the City Council as we move forward as we determine how we can accomplish some of these tasks.
Mr. Fredericks.
I would just like to say thank you for putting this together. I know that you walked in, both the mayor and the city administrator walked in to the city in some very challenging times, with lawsuits, with fines, with all kinds of issues. And I believe we're in a better place today because of that decision that was made to bring on a city administrator. So I know there's a tremendous amount of work that is yet to be done, but I'm glad you're here, because if you weren't, I don't know who would be leading that charge to get it done. So
I'd like to echo that.
Thank you. Absolutely. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Anything else? Okay. Please review the document that Mr. Boyce supplied to you. If you have any questions, please email him directly or or myself, and be happy to get you more information. Thank you for doing that, sir.
I normally wouldn't talk about, but it was just kind of startling to me. The Washington Supreme Court issued 2 opinions within the last 10 days dealing with recalls of public officials. Kind of over the years, I've read these on and off, and most of the time, the challenges, primarily because they're either been factually insufficient or legally insufficient. The city of Black Diamond, and they primarily looked at a standard applying misfeasance or malfeasance as to whether or not a petition with office was sufficient grounds, if there was a factual basis for it, for a recall petition. Have your committees have 3 council members on them, and then decline to allow the public in them, and also decline to give notice of them in violation of the Open Public Meetings Act, do so. And
All right, 2018 budget. So let's start discussing some items that have been added. Agency requests, I believe. Have you gone through agency requests yet? Like, you've been presented agency. we're turning the budget over to you now, presentations are over, correct? Does that sound fair? We're done with presentations, now it's time for council to start the discussion on what they'd like to see with their solutions. And there we go. Okay, so that's where we are.
Oh, okay.
So we can start wherever council would like to start, or if we start at the beginning, if you have questions, or I'm not quite sure what's weighing on your mind after the many meetings of presentations. So, who would like to start this evening? And what? You've got nothing? Okay.
Salary and benefits, we worked on tonight.
Salary and benefits, I believe that's, are we still working?
Yes, we worked on that at our HR meeting tonight.
Okay.
They're taking it back, they'll bring it back on the 13th.
Okay, so that one's that one's listed as number 2, so I guess let's, with the exception of salary and benefits, because there's going to be more information coming back.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Fredericks?
It's one council member's
Okay.
wish.
Well, okay, well, maybe you would like to start and maybe
Well,
present a little bit. That's why they call it a workshop. Do you?
If I don't like things, my understanding is if I don't like, I want to tweak the budget, we have the ability to do that.
That's correct.
And that's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Okay.
And I guess, wow, that's a lot of numbers. Numbers. I was going to say, do you have some communications?
This looks somewhat familiar to last year's.
Yes, I followed the same process as previous years.
Almost killed myself.
Wait.
Apparently, I need to increase some funding for L&I claims.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah, I gotta retire again.
Okay.
No, we'll get you a pretty bracelet, too.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Fredericks, take it away.
So, this is what I've come up with. I went through, I only looked at the $5.5 million portion of the general fund budget that we are, really, that's all we have, from a standpoint of all we have to utilize or to change certain areas within the budget. That's all I focused on.
Okay.
And I base this on, and I will say I've not had a discussion with staff. I could be off.
Okay.
And I'm willing to accept the fact that I'm off. But I've looked at what we've done previously. I've looked at what we've done the year before, this current year expected. And in the end, I've come up with $29,464 in what I believe are legitimate tweaks. I don't know if that's an appropriate word, but in the budget. I am also suggesting with this that I do not believe we should be implementing the step plan changes as of yet. I think it is a good idea. I think it's something that we need to refine, but I'm more interested in, and I have included in here, there was $28,400 that was budgeted for the step plan change.
Okay.
And what I'm suggesting is that we continue with the staff increase if they are changing step plans this year, that be allowed, and that they also receive a 2.75 cost of living adjustment increase. The difference between the 28.4, that cost is $17,948. The total savings represents $39,000. Now, I don't, again, staff may disagree with some of these numbers. I am also suggesting items that need to be funded. And this is something that I've advocated for a long time, and at one time we had council support for it, but we did not have someone who was willing to participate in the executive branch. I am suggesting for 2018 that we do a phase 1 clerk, treasurer, Community Development Department assessment. That was raised in the report tonight by Mr. Boyce. I think it was Councilmember McCall that went back in 2011, had a conversation, and really was able to provide some information at the time from Prothman.
Yes.
And I believe the cost was $8,000. I'm figuring, in my mind, I'm figuring very high on this number. I don't think it's going to be $20,000. I think it can be done in conjunction with the city administrator to provide some savings. I added a reserve officer in here based upon the number that was previously put in here. I'm still comfortable increasing that to 7,500, which it sounds like would fund one, but it also sounds like you can't get them through an academy in 2018. Was that right, Councilmember McCall?
Unless Cowlitz has more people step up that want to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be a cost issue for Cowlitz to host one. Typically, they'll run one if there's 6 or 8 applicants. Right now, they have 1. If I had 2, we only have 3, it wouldn't be cost effective for them to do it.
Right.
But if we're looking at $7,500 to totally outfit and train a reserve officer, we could probably cut that in half and train 2 officers for that cost. You know, by way of not the full complement of all the uniforms that we wear, but with the basic 1 dress uniform, 1 polo shirt, 1, you know, it's I can sharpen my pencil a little bit, but that $7,500 would more than cover 2 officers.
Okay.
It'd also give me an opportunity to provide some extra training to those officers that wouldn't normally get that.
So I would suggest moving that number then to 7,500, which changes that to 27,500, which leaves $12,000 in there for staff to come back and say, whoa, wait a minute, Councilmember Fredericks, this is not realistic, and here's what you're missing. That can be put in there, and otherwise that $12,000 can be left over, as far as I'm concerned, put in the 301 General Reserve Fund.
Okay. Can I ask questions as I go through this? I'm looking at meetings and retreat. Looks like we proposed 2,250, and we spent 2,180.
You spent 2,180 in 2016.
In 2016, oh, okay, sorry. Wait, let me go back up here. So in 2017, we've only spent about 600 is what I'm looking at.
Right.
Okay, so by moving it back to council chambers where it's accessible, we're saving costs, so, okay.
Yeah,
Question answered.
I've suggested, excuse me, new word.
2016, we did an offsite.
Changing it to, right, I suggested changing it to 1,500.
Oh, I'm looking at the 7, okay, perfect.
Yep, so
Okay.
each column, the first column is what's proposed currently,
I just saw 750 and thought you cut it down to that point.
and then the annualized cost of where we're at today, and then 2016 actual, so you have a comparison, and then what I am suggesting on 2018 new. I think we could probably get away with spending $20,000 in office supplies.
Okay.
Instead of
Well, on the meetings and retreats, I would also like to request that we add a meeting that is joint planning commission and council.
And judging by what
That-
we actually
that-
spent for 2017, I think that's possible
Really-
with that
well,
number.
It's a really critical functionality piece
Okay.
that we did not do last year, and it needs to be done.
The 2 questions that I do have are on the police side. I made some guesstimates here. The Spillman, I can't get my arms around that number because it's never been above $7,100, but this year it's going to be above $12,000.
So while it has a lot to do with the new software and those type of things that we're implementing, but that number could come down.
Okay.
There's discussion on a different CAD system that the county would be going to.
Okay.
And that CAD system would save a little bit of money by way of the CAD being Spillman and us having the Spillman program. So those 2 would communicate. It'd also be a time saver too. But that Spillman, I anticipate that Spillman annual maintenance fee to be 1 fee versus 2 fees that we have now for the annual Spillman maintenance fee and the Intergraph maintenance fee, which is the CAD system that we're using.
So you're suggesting a lower cost?
Well, I'm hoping it's a lower cost. I don't know it is right now, not moving forward with the Spillman CAD system, so.
And the tweak is those, didn't we just buy a whole bunch of radios? Okay.
Mobile radios are very expensive to repair, and they're no longer being supported by, they're so old, they're no longer being supported by Motorola. So we get part in, so. that
What radios did we just, the portable radios, and you're saying the non-portable?
Mobiles are out, have been outdated too. We're getting by with them, but the repairs are more expensive, parts are harder to come by.
Car radio.
Those down.
The car, you're talking about the radio that's inside the car?
Yes.
Okay.
Car mobile radio.
Okay. So that will be something that we'll have to look at a plan for changing out. But again, I'm going based off history, and based off history, you're not doing that today. Now, could that change tomorrow? Absolutely, it could. So I have no objection, of putting that back in there, but I think the Spillman, could be something that might be
It might be an opportunity for cost savings, but, it goes through the governance committee and that type of stuff to make the final decision on whether we're going to go with the CAD Spillman or remain with Intergraph or a totally different system. So those could be added costs later on.
Sure.
Or potential savings later on. So right now, I don't have a solid answer for that.
Right. Again, these were just going off of history. And these are just suggestions, but I really think the importance of making sure that we do an assessment of the clerk treasurer's office and the community development department, I think is critical. The clerk treasurer's office is the heart of the organization, and the community development department is customer facing. And I am convinced that there are efficiencies to be gained there. Will pay for this if we were willing to change policy and adopt maybe some of the findings from this assessment. We can't do that unless we have something that guides our decision. At this point, we don't have that. So this was my suggestion. This is what I'm throwing out there. And I'll leave it for council to say thank you very much, and we don't want to do that. We'd like to talk about something else, but.
I appreciate you finding dollars in current funding, and that's what I asked when the process was started. I know you don't have to, but I appreciate you going through and looking for things that appear to have some improvements that can be made. So I appreciate you doing that, thank you. And this is exactly what I think that we need to see is on our side of the table of exactly what you're thinking and where to pull from and what you want added to the budget. So thank you very much. Further discussion for Mr. Frederick's proposal or comments? Mr. Jacobs.
I actually like it. Almost everything on here. The biggest thing for me is I like the idea of holding off on the staff increase step plan for money savings. I think we just keep prolonging it, and I would rather see us move forward with it and get it done. HR looked at it today and came up with an idea for the one larger one to step that out over a couple different years.
Okay.
But that would be my suggestion is I think we're just going to keep prolonging this and looking at it year over year over year. I think we should just get it done.
Okay.
I agree. I'm anxious for you all to see what we talked about, because we did look at doing some steps on some of the big increases so that it doesn't all happen.
Is there an understanding of what the total cost is based upon those changes yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So that number's still going to be a savings then. It's just, it may not be 10,000, it could be half that much.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Any longer going forward without doing an assessment of that department. I think that the taxpayers of Woodland have an understanding, they want to understand how we're spending their money that we're currently providing them. And the clerk treasurer's office is the heart of the organization. And it's the one area that I do not feel completely comfortable with from a policy standpoint. And it worries me. And I've had this worry since 2009. So, and it sounds like this is in alignment with the report that was released this evening by Mr. Boyce. And I put phase 1 on here because I really think that the entire city needs to be assessed to identify if, are we doing things the right way? Are we doing them the most efficient way? Is there a different way to maybe drive some cost out of the organization that can be explored and looked at?
Ms. McCall?
And I would agree as needing to do the assessment of the workflow first. And I would want to stress that this isn't like a target to say, okay, we want to get rid of this person or that person. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with the fact that I believe it was 2010 that we received a report that said that we were past due on splitting the functions of clerk and treasurer, of the clerical work and the financial work, and having a financial director and having a city clerk. And once that was brought forward as an idea, my brain just hasn't let go of that. As far as would be stuff that was clerical and being addressed, and then there'd be things that were financial being addressed. It would also change the way that we would look at the facility space. I mean, it impacts so many other things that we're looking at, that if we're going to look at that, we need to look at that first. I think that we could make our employees happier. I think we could have the workspace be more efficient, not just even the workflow, but the workspace be more efficient. I think customer service would be quicker, and it would be easier to plan what we were going to do with our facility space. We might decide to do something entirely different with our facility space after looking at that. And then I just lost my train of thought for the rest of the piece of that, so I will have to think about that for a second.
Okay.
I lost my train of thought about an hour ago.
Train just crashed.
Okay. Well, if I can just make a comment real quick.
Yes.
Go ahead. No.
I found it.
Go ahead.
I've been excited since I started that there's so much potential here in Woodland, and we've grown so much as far as for the amount of people that we have to serve, that I see this as not as something that we're trying to do to get in there and mess with what the process of work is, because that's not our job, but it is our job to set policy, and our policy, part of our policy setting is setting up those departments. And I'd be really excited to see what a consultant would come up with on what they might suggest.
You gave a copy of this to Mr. Boyce? Yeah, okay, good. So we can go back and have staff look at the line items to make sure that we're not cutting ourselves, so I don't want to have to come back. I don't like coming back and asking for budget amendments, which I don't think that I've done yet. Have we done that? Oh, you're not supposed to say that. But we'll go back and I'll have them so that when we come back on Monday with this by Mr. Frederick's proposal, so we have a better understanding of what we're looking at. And then also, hopefully, do you think that we'll have, Mr. Jacobs likes the idea as well. I know that not everyone's weighed in on it, but Mr. Jacobs likes it as well, only in Ms. Humber as well. But also putting the step plan in there, will we be ready by Monday to show both versions and what those savings would be?
Yes, we have
tied to-
direction from the HR.
Okay. So they have two versions that they'll be able to look at, based on Mr. Frederick's plan at least. And maybe there'll be others coming forward, I don't know, Mr. Chapman. Okay, what time is it? We're running up against 6 o'clock. Are there any more comments? Oh, I'm sorry, 10 o'clock, sorry.
6 minutes till.
6 minutes, thank you. 6, I had 6 in my mind. It's a lot going on in here, a lot going on. Is there anything else that wants to be discussed before we move back into a budget meeting on Monday? I know we only had a half hour this evening, so. Ms. McCall.
I guess just the work that's been done to get us moving forward and out of a pit. And actually plan to do something different. Because we've always done what we always done, we'll always get what we always got.
True. All right. All right, Chair, accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Put this in there. Public safety got passed, right?
This one I got. Can I just say outrageous? I looked at this one, but I noted
Three times that much time instead of just once.
I'm going to go on 911 meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, pick up your name today. Get out here.
This back in, if this is agreed to, then we have.
You're out.
We have agreed. So if I got a push that for that, I'll do it.
But no, I just wanted to say, thank you for sitting down and doing
The deal
that.
is, without that, I'm a no. But at least we have solutions other than just a no.
This was the other one I got.
Well, things that have been, it's the biggest crowd we've had since.
Pete, I can get those put back tomorrow. I'll put the chairs back where they belong.
I know. Back where we belong. That's pretty good, aren't I? Hey, it's my song. I'm going to sing it the way I want.
As long as you don't do low riders.
Early access.
I like that song.
Yeah. I'll see you next week.
Well, maybe I usually don't come to the workshop unless I'm specifically summoned.
You don't want to come.
Usually don't advise on that. That's a Thursday night, right?
Holidays are coming.
I can't think of anything that I got.
Janice brought cookies last week.
Dumbasses.
Night, Janice.
We went up there to this salary place, looking through the window, there's veterans.
Drive safe, everybody. See you tomorrow night. Looking forward to it.
So we get in there, get into the house, finally work our way in, talk quiet. The guy sandwiched between two. She comes out, he sandwiched between two.
That's very wrong.
Yeah, that's very nice. I've been eating snacks since this. Oh, they're good. You need to get her more often.
I was a little bit slow on the thank you for the
Hey, we appreciate it, thank you very much. But anyway, so in between two mattresses, I finally yanked one off. And it wouldn't show hands, but right hook came in, there were about 4 knee shots right beside me. I was like, ow! We had a while, we was a secret letter. They wouldn't let it come out. So I took her in custody, brought her down to get Izzy, because she's technically a brother. Right. She's the victim of the whole thing. She's got a wealth of different skills. So we might make her a friend more than a foe. So I'll get this locked up on that. Hey. 7:30, right, girl? She's like, yeah, right. I'm just gonna run over to say, like I said before, and grab orange juice, fruit, and pastries.
Her train lost or whatever, mine is crashed.
And we'll give them the list of trick questions.
So we're recording.
That's right, that's kind of.
I've got to go to
Yeah,
that.
it's like you have your first Band-Aid on. But yeah, we decided at 5 o'clock because.
Okay, so. Yours?
Ely.
Yeah,
Love it. So I can
violate federal law by approving things that are not allowed federally, and no one can recall.
I don't know.
Don't set me up on this one.
How are you, sir? Good to see you. Sorry, Jim, every once in a while. Called you off.
Recall petition for that.
Conspiracy,
Okay, thank you.
Allow you to
Wednesday, I'll be around. Yes, ma'am. I will be around. Finally.
I'll call you and let you know. I saw the video for one of them on the website. So I don't know if there's one for you guys. I didn't open it.
It's probably me.
Meeting here.
Ballots coming for the
Walton Airport this morning, got a confirming email from Clark County Department's senior planner that said our baby. Yeah, I actually sent him, I don't know, I copied him an email, I sent him
Oh, did you?
I said on Friday, I told him I was going to send an email on Friday.
We got
Yeah,
50 emails on Friday. So